So welcome again to today's presentation on practicing your pitch. Our presenter today is Tom TK Kuegler. TK, is the co-founder and general partner of Wasabi Ventures. Wasabi Ventures is a venture capital incubator and consulting firm that specializes in building and advising early-stage technology companies. In the last 10 years, Wasabi Ventures has built, financed, and advised over 200 startups, including some wildly successful ventures like Right Now Technologies, PB Works, Ustream, and Etherpad. In the 1990s, TK was the co-founder of two successful internet startups, SMT and Spinbox. TK is also the author of all three editions of the highly acclaimed book, Web Advertising and Marketing. He currently sits on the board of sponsors of Selinger School of Business at Loyola University, Maryland, and he has presented at hundreds of events on a wide array of topics about economics, entrepreneurism, technology, and management. TK was also part of the ceremonies to celebrate the winners of last season's FLL Global Innovation Award presented by X Prize. He served on a panel of experts with winning teams at the U.S. State Department in Washington, D.C. I'm going to turn our presentation over now to TK.
So I'm going to spend 30 seconds and just give you a sort of a quick synopsis of pitching. So my firm, Wasabi Ventures, we've been around for over 10 years. I am one of the co-founders, one of the general partners of it. And in the last 5 years, we have heard over 30,000 startups pitch us for funding. That's correct. Over 120 a week, 52 weeks a year for 5 years, where over 30,000 pitches. And so I've gotten pretty good at listening to pitches and telling you what works in a pitch and doesn't work in a pitch. But the most important thing for you to remember and take away from all of this is that pitching is important, and it's important not just from a fundraising standpoint. Pitching is important anytime you're trying to convince someone that you have a solution that they should care about. And so that's what this deck is all about. That's what this presentation that I'm going to do for you here in the next 15 minutes is all about. And the last thing I want you to understand is this is the exact same pitch camp that I run when I am teaching startup founders how to raise money or recruit new employees. It's a very similar pitch that I actually gave to first participants for their fundraising efforts, so the people that work at First. So with all of that said, I'm going to go ahead and get going. So what are the 3 questions that you have to answer in your pitch? And once again, anytime I say pitch today, I want you to understand that's not just a pitch for money. That's a pitch for any time you're trying to convince someone that you have a solution they should care about. So the first one, what makes your market attractive? Second, what makes your product/service a killer app? And why is your team uniquely qualified to do this? Those are the 3 questions. So question number 1, why is this an attractive? Is it market attractiveness? Is the size of the market that you're trying to attack a large problem? Or is this a tiny problem? People want to hear that you're solving a large problem. So if the size of the market is $1 billion market, you can take 10% of it, that's $100 million a year, and you've got a really big company. Is it openness? Meaning, are you trying to solve something that actually technically can be solved? Or is it something that's not easily solved? Is creating a new desktop OS is not an open market. It's a very difficult thing to actually attack. You can't really attack that market in any kind of easy fashion. Are you attacking something that has a willingness to try new things? You know, so you've got to be willing to. Your solution has to be targeted to users/customers who actually are even willing to try new things. So that's also important. And successful analogous startups. If Yahoo then Google, if MySpace then Facebook, and what that means is, you know, to put that in a little more layman's terms or clear terms, is it's always better if you're pitching your solution if you can tell the people you're talking to that there have already been remotely successful people who have tried to do this, and that you're trying to do it even better. Do you have a killer app? This is a pretty key one for me. This is one of my personal things that I always tell people. And the starts off right there. Is it a major pain point? And the way to think about this is it an aspirin and not a vitamin? People in life pay for aspirins. They only occasionally pay for vitamins. Meaning, you want to be solving a problem where people absolutely have to solve the problem. Not kind of nice to kind of solve the problem, but it's an actual pain point for them. So that's the key. That's one of the key things for me is that is what you're solving a have-to-have or a nice-to-have for your targeted customers? Is it viral? You know, is it the new crack? You know, and I'm talking about the cocaine, not the plumber's crack. I mean, is it addictive? What you're putting out there, Facebook, Angry Birds, you know, are you putting something out that is so viral, that is so addictive that users tell other users who tell other users who have to have it? Is it an affordable indulgence or just a convenience? You know, sort of very similar to that pain point. Or is it just plain magic? Like the iPad when it first came out was magic. You know, people just bought it because it was kind of magical. Lots of things are magical, and people don't understand why they need it, but they do need it. So think about being an aspirin, not a vitamin, is the key. How are you uniquely qualified? I will tell you 100% of the time when we invest in startups at Wasabi Ventures, it is always because we like the people, that we believe in the people. That's first and primary reason why we do things. And what we're looking for is the unique qualifications of what those people are. People are always looking for uniquely qualified people because that's who's going to be successful. So what is it? And now I understand most of you on the phone are early in your professional careers. We'll spell it that way. But you probably have relevant experience. If you have relevant, successful prior experience, that's a great thing. If you have any startup experience at all, that's a good thing. Is your team who's working on this, do they have a complete set of skills, or are you missing some of the skills? Are you going to be the first, the leading, the only of something, you know, whatever it is that you're building? And, you know, do you have relationships with key market players? And once again, I understand that may be early for you in where you are in the process. But having relationships that might be useful with market players is key. I tell you what is almost never important: academic degrees, what schooling you have, and considering most of you are still early in your schooling process, that might spell really good news for you. Here's just to give you a tidbit here. In the last 5 years, Wasabi Ventures has funded 4 different high schools started startups, meaning the founders were still in high school when we started with them. So age doesn't really matter. Academic degrees don't matter. Unrelated prior experience doesn't matter. So for example, if you were telling me, hey, I really have this great solution that's going to revolutionize the coaching of football. Well, that's great, but if you know nothing about the game of football and if you've never coached football, that makes it pretty hard for me to tell that you're going to have any real success because you don't have the domain expertise needed. So you usually want to work on projects where you think you have a real passion and a real domain knowledge for. That's key in the qualifications area. Things that are important that I didn't mention is who is the competition? Who already has solutions to this? Patents and IP protection. Sometimes that's important. Often it's not. What's your go-to-market strategy? How are you going to get customers? That's also important. Do you have a business plan? Do you have a pitch deck like this? Do you have financials that make sense? These are all nice things, and they are important, but they're critical in some ways, and you can't go forward without them. But if your answers to the three key questions aren't correct answers, they aren't good answers, it doesn't really matter that you have the rest of these things. So things that really bother me when I listen to pitches. And once again, some of these may not be as applicable to you, but we are the blank of blank, meaning, and so let me give you an example. And all of these are in quotes because these are actually things that I have heard in pitches before in my life. We are the Uber of beer delivery. I am actually sitting here in my office looking at a startup that is exactly their pitch to you. They are the Uber of beer delivery. Well, that's nice and all, but if beer delivery was that important, Uber would do it. No one has ever done X. I will tell you almost everything in life has been done or attempted. So when you say this has never been done, that usually means you haven't looked deep enough to find that people have tried to do this. We will have a partnership with blank, insert large company right there. And my point on this last one is that if you have a relationship with a large company that's really going to help your startup, that's great. But make sure that that's true. Don't believe your own hype unless that is actually true, that you actually are close to or actually have a written relationship with some large company. Those are things that usually bother me in pitches. So I give you a little homework assignment. Create an outline for your pitch. Just do it in Word. Doesn't have to be fancy. Lay out all the sections. Answer the 3 key questions that I mentioned. The what it is, why it is, and why you're the person to actually build it, or you or your team are the people to build it. That's key. That's all you got to do. Just do it in Word or text document or anything you like. Doesn't have to be fancy. And just make sure you can, and then in each one of those sections, list the questions that you need to answer yourself to make this an effective pitch. For example, what are your team's unique qualifications? Why are you special? Why is your team special and better than the next team? That's key. Why does the world need this? You know, back to that aspirin or vitamin problem. That's also very important and key. So that's a homework assignment for you. Now, once again, probably not going to get collected and graded, but I wanted to give you a little something to take away that you can actually think about and work on. So I think that is my last slide. Yes. So with all that, I'm happy to roll into questions if we have any.